Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 2nd Culpeper County Board of Supervisors meeting. We're going to begin this morning. We have Dr. James Walker from the Stevensburg Baptist Church with us. Pastor Jason, would you please come forward and give us an invocation? And I'd ask everyone to please stand, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, good morning. It is my privilege to be here this morning and to be invited to lead us in a time of prayer. I bring greetings from the Stevensburg Baptist Church. As was said, my name is Jason. I'm one of the pastors there. The 200 members of Stevensburg Baptist Church pray for you regularly, pray for your families, and we're thankful for you. And so, as is our custom at our church, we want to begin with a word of scripture reading, and then I'll begin with prayer. So I'm going to be reading from the book of Philippians and Paul's letter to the church in Philippians, and then I'll lead us in a time of prayer. So scripture says this: "Therefore, if there is any encouragement in Christ, if there is any consolation of love, if there is any fellowship of the Spirit, any affection and compassion, make my joy complete by being of the same mind, maintaining the same love, united in spirit, intent on one purpose. Do nothing out of selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own interests, but also for the interest of others, having this attitude in yourselves, which was also in Christ Jesus, who, although he existed in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as a thing to be grasped, but he emptied himself, taking on the form of a bondservant and being made in the likeness of men. Being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. For this reason also God highly exalted him and bestowed upon him the name which is above every other name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee will bow, of those who are in heaven and those who are on the earth and those under the earth, and that every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father." I invite you now to bow your heads and close your eyes as we go to the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this time. I thank you for this board of supervisors who are leading us in this community, and I ask that you would give them much wisdom today. And may they have, as the Apostle Paul requested, humility of mind, that they would regard others as more important than themselves, that they would regard others' interests as more important than their own, and give them the mind of Christ, and that they would represent, even maybe unknowingly, the glory of Jesus Christ as he humbled himself and gave up his life, even his life on a cross, becoming obedient to you. And for this reason, your word tells us that he is exalted and his name will be magnified. We ask that in Culpeper County, that the name of Jesus would be lifted up, that the church would stand for truth and proclaim the gospel of Jesus in kindness and humility and boldness. And we do ask again that you would give this board strength and wisdom. May you protect them. May your favor rest upon them and their families. And we ask all of these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jason. I now ask Supervisor Lee to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now officially call the meeting to order. And we have an agenda before us. Are there any corrections or additions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the change under the committee reports for public safety that we switch item B and C. Going over item C first.
Okay, we have a motion. Any discussion on that? Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We've made that adjustment to the agenda. The first item on our agenda today is the consent agenda, and I'll ask Mr. McLaren to please read in the consent agenda.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. Morning, members of the board. Thank you. Under the consent agenda, which is item 2.0 on the agenda, there are several items, beginning with letter A. The board will consider approval of August 5th, of the August 5th, 2025 AM and PM meeting minutes under letter B. The board will consider acceptance of a grant in the amount of $230,000 or $230,953 for the Culpeper County Sheriff's Office from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services. Under letter C, the board will consider acceptance of a grant and appropriation of the funds in the amount of $210,000 for the Culpeper County Fire and Rescue Association from the Office of Emergency Medical Services. Under item D, the board will consider approval of a reimbursement of permit fees paid by the Brandy Station Volunteer Fire Department in conjunction with their Fireman's Fair fundraising event. The amount eligible for reimbursement is $355. Under letter E, the board will consider a budget amendment in the amount of $25,538 for the clerk of the circuit court for technology trust funds from the State Compensation Board. Under letter F, the board will consider a budget amendment for the library for additional state funding received in the amount of $3,428. Under letter G, the board will consider acceptance of 2 donations and a budget amendment for the Animal Services Department. Best Friends Animal Society has donated $1,000, and Portrait Academy has donated $900. Both donors have requested these funds be used for vet services. Under item H, the board will consider a request from the Health Department regarding a fiscal year 26 local match adjustment and use of fiscal year 25 surplus funds. And under item I, the board will consider 2 budget amendments for the school system for additional funds received in a budget transfer, which are all within the School Capital Improvements Program Fund.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We're going to move on to item 3, general county business. The board will receive an update from Cheryl Reinstrom from Encompass Community Supports. Cheryl, please come forward.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. So I wanted to kind of give you a year-end wrap-up and then a discussion of our current budget for this fiscal year. So to start, we'll look at service reports. That'll give you numbers. We have it broken out for Culpeper County in particular, but we also have ECS's footprint as a total. So you can see in terms of utilization, outpatient services for behavioral health remains our largest provider of services. For Culpeper County, we saw over 270 individuals, and these were unduplicated individuals. Medical services, we had about 160 individuals receive treatment. Parent-child interactive therapy, a much smaller, more intensive therapy, we saw 8 families from Culpeper County receive this service. I'll kind of hop through so as not to take the entire hour here. Case management services for permanent supported housing. 13 individuals out of approximately 60 were from Culpeper County. Young adult coordinated, that would be young adults who are experiencing their first onset of mental illness. We had 9 out of 22. Supervised residential services, 13 out of 22 were from Culpeper. Continuing on, in terms of peer services, we had over 100 individuals out of over 200 individuals were from Culpeper County. So you can see over 700 individuals out of the 1,800 were from this particular location. In terms of intellectual and developmental disabilities, again, adults, over 130 out of our over 350 individuals were from Culpeper. Children, it was significantly less. We had 8 out of the 11. For ITC, or Developmental Disability Part C, that is children's case management. We had over 75 individuals out of over 200. Moving on, infant-toddler connection, over 150 individuals out of the 500 were from Culpeper. And then in terms of consumer monitoring, 135 out of 415. So again, a large percentage of our service base is from Culpeper County. In terms of substance use services, outpatient, over 60 individuals out of the 130 were from Culpeper. Medication-assisted treatment, 25 out of the 35 were from this particular region. In terms of dropping down to Boxwood, 24 out of the 63 were, again, from Culpeper. Overall, recovery court, we had 7 out of 12. So over 135 of the 325 were from Culpeper County. In terms of emergency services, over 280 of the 700 were from Culpeper. Children's services, again, a smaller percentage, 80 out of 200. In terms of just general assessments, rapid access, also we had over 250 from this area out of the 125 or so. Boxwood, we had 18 out of 50. Jail, 90 out of 180. And then, so almost 400 out of the over 800 contacts, assessments were from Culpeper County. In terms of Section 8 housing, we had over 60 out of 109. Leafland Lane, it's been steady, and we're projecting it will continue to be steady. So out of the 23 units that we can support, we have a 5-year wait list. Housing, obviously, to you folks, you know, is needed. In terms of permanent supported housing, of the 75, 23 were from Culpeper. State rental assistance, out of the 10, 8 were from Culpeper. And then HUD supportive housing, 18 out of the almost 30 were from Culpeper. So you can, again, see over 180 out of the 300-plus individuals serviced were from this county. Because we've partnered with DSS over the last couple years, we thought it made sense to kind of give you a little bit of a breakdown. So there were over 88 individuals last winter season that were supported through the warming center. What I think is most significant is if you drop down to age, 50 and older, you're looking at a third of the population that are coming through the warming center are of older adults. So that's just something that we're keeping an eye on. In terms of Sea Recovery Center, again, very low barrier. We just ask their name and what county they're from. And so if you just kind of look at the interactions, of the over 7,500, almost 7,000 of them were from Culpeper. I'm sorry, 5,000 were from Culpeper. We do have a virtual option, and so we've been able to kind of bring in some additional from individuals from farther out. In terms of our overdose response programs, again, looking at some of the numbers in terms of, this is over the fiscal year, you can see the breakdown. There were 88 that were referred. In terms of individuals referred to professional mental health services as appropriate, almost 80 were referred. In individuals connected to housing resources, again, over 25 were referred. Individuals connected to peer support as appropriate. That remains one of our largest impacts. Over 125 were referred to peer services. And then overall, in terms of harm reduction kits, those are the bags that have fentanyl test strips, first aid supplies, information to connect to services. Those are in those bags, naloxone in case of overdose. We have been able to give out close to 7,000 of those bags throughout our communities. In terms of just prevention services, in terms of doing zero suicide trainings, we have over 1,800 that we've done. Gatekeeper training, again, close to 1,000 were done. Some of those, about 300, were for children, the remainder for adults. In terms of lock and talk, you know, distributing items, lock boxes, we have over 130,000 of those items given out. Over 7,000 of them have been to young people in an effort to try and really reduce the chances of overdose and suicide. In terms of doing trainings for adverse childhood experiences, again, we're looking at about 25 of those throughout the course of the year. Mental health first aid for youth and adults, well over 200 trainings have been offered. In terms of attending mental health events, You can see we're busy in the 5-county catchment area, over 1,000. And then just again, dropping down, counter tools, that's getting out to where cigarettes or beer might be purchased. You can see we have over 150 public service announcements, tools that we use with local vendors. Again, continuing on in terms of opioids, over-the-counter, prescription med prevention. Again, SOAR sponsored events. We've been up to over 10 of those throughout the course of the year. Deactivation packets for medication that may be in your medicine cabinets that you're not using anymore. Making it inactive is a tremendous way to keep your loved ones and family members safe. So you have over 550 that were given out. Dropbox distribution locations, destructions. So you can see in the 4 counties, we have well over 30,000 of those taking place. Drug take-back events, we've attended over 35 of those. Permanent Dropbox locations, we're rather excited about this, so 19 throughout a 5-county catchment area. And then, again, service announcements, close to 200,000, so well over 150,000 of those have been just messages going out, encouraging people who may be struggling where to get help. Aging services. So in general, just any kind of a communication, home-delivered meals, helping people get counseling on health insurance. For Culpeper, we had over 775 contacts out of the over 2,000 contacts. In terms of just VICAP, the insurance counseling, we had for Culpeper over 900 out of the 1,500 contacts. That roughly has netted people from our catchment area here in Culpeper over $50,000 in savings. Ombudsman, advocating for families who might be in caregiving situations, nursing homes, long-term care facilities. There were over 200 contacts. 62 of them were from Culpeper itself. Of the 63 complaints that were officially opened, 15 were from Culpeper, and we were able to close 6 of them. I'd like to point out that this particular role is covered by one person, and she's busy quite a bit. Many of you might know Kathy Walker. She's quite helpful in those areas. In terms of health and well-being promotion sessions for seniors, over 15,000 sessions in terms of just healthy steps, nutritional, depression screening. Additional supports for older adults, senior cool care, options counseling, over 1,500 individuals served. Senior centers. For Culpeper, we have 56 folks that use services out of the 280 plus individuals that are registered. In terms of meals provided to members, close to 5,000 were from Culpeper of the 18,000 meals that we provided. Home delivered meals, we have 310 members registered, over 100 were from this particular area. And again, we've given out over 35,000 meals to seniors. 13,000 were from this particular area. In terms of transportation, we provide UCR white buses. Over 300 individuals are registered to receive it. Over 75 are from Culpeper. In terms of volunteering, the number of volunteers that we have is close to 170. 30 are from Culpeper, and they have provided over 2,500 trips, which in essence has saved folks over $55,000. Now for our budget. So this shows you roughly where our revenue comes from. So you can see the largest is state revenue, and of that, I would also say a lot of that is grant funded. So through DBHDS, Division of the licensing entity, one of many for ECS, will often, throughout the course of a fiscal year, offer opportunities to apply for grants. So of the 16 million, a lot of that is also grant funded. But then you can see fee revenues, that's the federal fees, Medicaid, what we bill for. And then you can see local revenues, close to 6 million. I'd like to let you know that of the local revenue, because again, each county contributes, and Culpeper has been very generous to ECS, 95% of all local revenue goes to aging services. So every time you see a bus run around, you can count on the bulk of the revenue coming from the local jurisdictions, funds, aging services. In terms of just general highlights, for our state revenue, you can see we are proposing about $16 million for this fiscal year. It's a modest increase from the previous year. A lot of that has to do with there continue to be grant opportunities that we apply for. I would say on average, we have anywhere from 70 to 80 grants that are actually being used to fund services for ECS. Local revenues, again, we are close to, it's 5,500 million. Again, it's a modest decrease this year. We reflected a 5% request to our local government versus the 10%. In terms of fee schedules, you can see here we're proposing about 12 million. It's a modest decrease. Part of that is because the last fiscal year we had anticipated a bit greater billable units coming in that we did not realize. Then when we consider what is coming potentially on the horizon with a reduction in Medicaid, we wanted to make sure that we were being much more conservative. So we actually we looked at what we did the previous year or 2 years to establish a benchmark for what we expect to bill for fees. But then we also, given 40% of the individuals that use Medicaid expansion might experience a reduction. So we budgeted in a reduced number. Again, just federal reserves, or federal revenues, we're looking at a proposed budget this year of a little over $3 million. It's a slightly modest reduction from previous years. Highlights just in terms of miscellaneous, our motor pool, the wear and tear on vehicles, project length, all of that, we're looking at, again, about 800,000, which is a modest reduction from the previous year. In terms of highlights, the bulk of our money goes to paying the salaries for our employees, as well as the benefits. So we have over about 375 employees. We're grateful and thankful this year we did not see an increase in our health insurance. The second largest expense would be transfer expenses. It sounds mysterious, but really what it is unrestricted funds versus restricted funds. We have a lot of funds that are restricted. We can't just use them for other services or even similar services, so we access our unrestricted funds to offset where maybe a program isn't keeping pace or we're experiencing a modest reduction. Again, in terms of overall highlights, salaries, we are forecasting a modestly reduced amount. When we realized that we were not billing what we had anticipated last year, we wanted to make sure that as we created the schedule, and I would say, God bless Lauren, our Director of Finance, she had a difficult task trying to kind of make sure that we lowered our known liabilities, our staffing, to be in line with what we saw coming in the next year. So over the last year, we've been working to either reduce positions. If it's not needed, can it be combined with another position? Is it something that we can freeze for a period of time until we know more what's coming down the horizon? We've done all of that. There were a handful of positions that we decided we needed to have a reduction in force. So at a couple months ago, we engaged in that process. Of maybe the 10 that we actually laid off, we've brought 5 back into different capacities within the agency. But we wanted to make sure that our staffing matched with what we were expecting to receive. Again, highlight staff development, DBHDS has made another grant available to us to use to help fund educational experience, professional enhancement. So that one has shown a modest increase. In terms of rents and utilities, I wish we were experiencing a reduction in those costs. They're not, so you can imagine we've had a modest uptick in those areas. In terms of materials, again, nothing's going down in terms of costs, so we budgeted a modest increase for things such as office supplies, equipment repair, shelf-stable meals, those types of things. In terms of motor pool, we do have a fairly large fleet of vehicles. We have made a point to remind employees that if they are traveling to different locations, they should reach out and reserve a motor pool vehicle so that we are not paying out mileage. Where we have seen an overabundance of use versus underabundance, we are shifting vehicles around so that they can get a better use out of them. In terms of just other miscellaneous insurance, printing, all of that, bank charges, sponsorships, we are forecasting a modest increase, but again, if it's not necessary, if it's something we can live without, we opted to take a much more conservative position with this particular budget year than we might have in previous years. So as you can see, our revenues and our expenditures, they're even. They balance out. We do have two capital projects that are underway. We are in conversation with Orange Board of Supervisors on the Madison Road project. That has, I would say, got 99% of it funded through low-income housing tax credits as well as other grants. And then also Laurel Street. So our old Culpeper Clinic here, our intent is to renovate it and create it into a crisis drop-in center. And it would be fun. It would be open 23 hours a day for individuals that the C Center is not secure enough, but the person doesn't qualify for emergency hospital placement. So that was quick, down and dirty. Do you have any questions that I might be able to answer for you?
Thank you, Cheryl. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Cheryl, thank you for that presentation. That's very informative, and thank you for all of the great work that Encompass does for our community. I did have a question about the suicide and mental health information. You had talked about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences.
Correct.
And that 25 people have been trained. And I was just kind of curious as to how those people are targeted, or how did we get those people to sign up for this? But more importantly, how can we expand that training to even more people? From my experience in public education, recognizing and mitigating the harmfulness of adverse childhood experiences, it's really absolutely vital to healthy development for our young people. So 25 people, I'd say that's good. I'd like to hear 125 or 525 or something like that. So is there a way that we can get that expanded?
Absolutely. I misspoke then if I mentioned 25 people. It was 25 events. So
Okay.
it could be larger sessions. It could be anywhere from 5 individuals at maybe a church to close to 100 at some community event. So we are working and wanting to work more with schools to try and get in to do as many of these as possible. But also we're looking at discussing not just ACEs, which are the adverse childhood experiences, but PACEs, the positive childhood experiences. Studies are showing now for as much as the negative can impact a young person, positive experiences also can neutralize the negative. And so we are also going to be spending the next year pushing that discussion out.
Terrific.
As well.
I would just encourage Encompass to continue to try to expand that program. Most people are not aware of what ACEs means and how the disastrous negative effects that adverse childhood experiences have on our young people that last well into adulthood, and most people just aren't aware of that. So I think if we can expand those offerings as much as possible, I would just encourage that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much for a wonderful report. We appreciate what Encompass does for our community. You are a vital part of who we are in Culpeper.
Glad to be of service. Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is item 3.02. The board will receive an update from Dominion Energy regarding electric transmission projects. Mr. McMahon?
McMahon. Sorry. I have far too many consonants in my name, so do not worry about that. Members of the board, good morning. My name is Bobby McMahon, and I'm a communications specialist with Dominion Energy's Electric Transmission Group. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today and provide an update on some of our projects in the area, namely our Culpeper Tech Zone project, our Germanna project, and our Sirius Kaiser project. Before we begin, I want to introduce a couple of my colleagues in the room. Jimmy Struther is our project manager for a number of our projects here in the area. Mark Gill is our colleague in the planning division who kind of anticipates what needs happen. And then Jeannie Underwood, who I believe, she's in the corner there, is our external affairs representative, and I know works closely with many of you as issues pop up, and we want to share information with you. So let me begin with the Culpeper Tech Zone. As you know, this is a major infrastructure initiative to support the growing needs in the county as well as the town of Culpeper. It includes building 4 new substations within the CTZ, as well as a 230 kilovolt line to connect those substations to the electric grid, along with a number of upgrades in Fauquier County, Culpeper County, and Orange counties, and relocation and upgrade of our Oak Green substation to a nearby parcel. So community engagement has been an important part of this project so far. Since we were last in front of you, I believe in January, we have held 2 community meetings, as well as engaged, I believe, over 500 property owners with postcards and other information within 1,000 feet of the transmission right-of-way to make sure that the public is aware of this project, to make sure that they have an opportunity to ask questions, share their feedback, and that sort of thing. We filed the project with the Virginia State Corporation Commission in February. That process is ongoing. Typically, review with the SEC takes anywhere between 8 to 12 months. We certainly don't want to prejudge the outcome, but we would hope that we might hear something within the next few months from SEC. And of course, as issues pop up, as questions pop up from the public, outreach has continued. So as a reminder, again, when we were before you in January, the resolution that you offered was consistent with our preferred approach, which is that red line that co-locates most of the infrastructure within kind of in an existing corridor. So as mentioned, we are before the SEC right now. That review is in progress. Pending SEC approval, we hope to begin construction on the substations in the 3rd quarter of 2026, with the transmission line construction beginning in the 1st quarter of 2027. We hope to have a target energization date in the 2nd quarter of 2028. Moving on to some other projects that are happening in the area. Our Germanna project, which, as a reminder, is a new overhead 230 kilovolt double circuit line that runs about 1.8 miles from the existing grid to a new substation in Stevensburg, right off there off Germanna Highway. We continue to do public outreach. We've had good conversations with Germanna Community College. The line goes right through their campus. We've had good conversations, and they have been agreeable to move forward with the proposed route, which we feel really good about. Substation construction began just late last month, and we provided area residents around the project with notification that that was occurring, and we anticipate beginning transmission construction in early 2026. On our Sirius Kaiser project, this is what we call a wreck and rebuild, where we are taking down existing poles and building new poles in the area to fit them with a double circuit 230 kV monopole. So we are beginning access and construction, anticipate to do so in February 2026, but in recent months, I believe we sent this out in July, we notified area residents and homeowners that we would be doing a number of survey activities on or near the properties, checking for endangered species, delineating wetlands, doing other sorts of reviews for historic resources. So those conversations have been ongoing to make sure that area residents who are around the project are aware of what's happening, aware when Dominion personnel is on their land and on their property, and as they need changes or are concerned about anything, we've been in touch with them. And our in-target service date for that project is November 2027. So as I've said, we do take our responsibility to engage the public seriously, whether it's through meetings, individual conversations, mailers, that sort of thing. And so as issues pop up, as questions emerge, we're always happy to talk with residents, customers, and folks like you. So appreciate it. Any questions?
Any questions? Supervisor Gugino.
Yes, can we go back to the map on the Mount Pony line? for the CTZ. So I had talked to the representatives at one of your community events about my concerns of the fact that there's a significant portion of the Red Mount Pony line that parallels the current Rowington-Gordonsville line and impacts other additional houses than what may not have been there when this initial map was created. Has there been any discussions about, one, making that shorter so that we're coming off of where the Potato Run substation is or closer to it, so we are not paralleling those two large transmission lines so close together in that area?
The right-of-way that you're speaking of, that was pretty much I would say, the most direct route and the least inhibiting route that we had chose for this SEC application. So at this time, I don't, this is the first I've heard of this from a resident.
Because I talked to many of people with your community meetings in January. I've talked to Mrs. Underwood over there. The way that this looks when you're driving down this road is you have two high-capacity transmission lines that you can pretty much throw rocks at each other. And from what I was told, it was because the property owner, where the transmission lines and where the solar installation and where the substation sits, didn't want that line as close to their home that was on the property. Meanwhile, this is impacting at least two other residences that, because this is going to parallel on Blackjack Road. We already have a lot of neighbors down there that have these big, huge concrete platforms in their yards, and now we're adding even more of them. So I'm still concerned about this, to the fact that we couldn't find the most direct route, because even looking at this map, you see significant parallelization between the new route and the original line.
Supervisor, we appreciate your concern. Would it be possible to take this back to our project team and get you a more robust update?
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Supervisor Rosenberger.
Yes, sir, thank you. A little bit off subject here, but can you tell me if there are any plans to do anything with the Morrisville to Front Royal line that's being fed from Lake Anna? I understand there might be some reliability problems with that line as we speak during peak summer and winter hours.
Mark, would you join us? Can you speak to that?
Runs through the northern end of Culpeper.
I'm sorry, could you repeat which line you're referring to?
The line that runs from Morrisville to Front Royal,
Okay.
drops off a substation right down the road from me, as a matter of fact. I understand that PJM's report says that there has been some reliability problems during peak hours, summer and winter.
Is this the Morrisville to Wishing Star project?
To Front Royal. I'm not familiar with the other end.
I know the PJM's competitive open window just closed recently, and Dominion had submitted several proposals. I don't know specifically.
What might be
Yes.
coming about?
Yeah, we can certainly check into that and get back with you. That
I'd
would be
appreciate that.
acceptable.
I'd appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Oh,
Mr. Bates.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple different questions. Supervisor Rosenberger addressed one of them. When we talk about PJM and going forward, the peak hours in the future, PJM has said that, that we're probably going to be looking at overloading a lot of these main transmission lines. We can put all the grid infrastructure in we want, but if we don't have electricity to put on them, that's going to be a problem, I would think. And is there talk about expanding any of the gas plants that we have in Remington or Orange? Or I know the governor back in the beginning of the year had talked about small modular reactors. And what is Dominion's initial plan right now to generate more electricity? 'Cause, I mean, that's a concern.
Sure. No, to that point, we are committed to providing safe, reliable, and affordable electricity to our customers in the state. and meeting the needs that we have. I know that we have in some planning stages a number of new generation projects, including expansion at our Chesterfield plant, as well as the CVAL project, which is our coastal Virginia offshore wind project. Yeah, I would say whether it's that, whether it's, there's a fusion reactor that has been proposed in Chesterfield County as well. And so certainly as we look at how to support the grid both today, maintain reliable service, as well as going forward, we're looking at all options.
Thank you.
Ms. Gugino?
Yes, I have one more question. So I've heard rumors that there has been some talk about adding an additional transmission line through the southeastern portion of Culpeper, that there's been different conversations about where one might cross in through the county. What plans does Dominion have on any additional transmission lines through that sector? So toward either the Richardsville area, leading up into Lignum, the Route 3 corridor area?
There's nothing that I'm aware of at this time.
Okay.
But we will double check on that because I know there are a number of projects that are in some stage of review in terms of whether the conceptual planning, PGM process, and so we'll get you a clear consensus.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Lee?
Yes, sir. Mr. McMahon, just to clarify, so the Culpeper Tech Zone timeline, we can anticipate that power will be supplied to our tech zone in the second quarter of 2028.
That is correct. Now, that is pending SEC review.
Okay.
Certainly would never want to get in front of a state regulator and promise something on their behalf.
Sure.
But
Okay, but if they do approve that, we feel, or you all feel that that's a pretty firm goal, that can be achieved, correct? Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Gentlemen, thank you.
thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next item of business is item 3.03. The board will consider adoption of a resolution recognizing September 17th, 2025 as Constitution Day in observance of the 238th anniversary of the signing of the United States Constitution. Mr. McLaren, would you read this resolution into the record?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. As posted on board docs is the resolution for consideration. And it reads, whereas September 17th, 2025 marks the 238th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America, and whereas the United States Constitution, written in 1787, ratified in 1788, and in operation since 1789, and the world's longest surviving written charter of government. And whereas in the first three words, we the people, affirm that the government of the United States exists to serve its citizens. And whereas Virginia's founding fathers were among the original framers of the United States Constitution, which included several notable Virginians. And whereas Virginia's own Declaration of Rights, authored by George Mason, was later used as a model for the first 10 adopted amendments to our nation's Constitution, becoming the Bill of Rights. And whereas more than 2 centuries after its ratification, the United States Constitution remains a vital and living document strengthened by amendments, serving as both guide and protector of U.S. citizens and their elected officials. And whereas the history, significance, and effect of the provisions in the Constitution and its amendments are essential knowledge for all citizens. And whereas knowledge of the sacrifices made for freedom, as well as the values on which this country was founded, is an integral part of civics and government education. And whereas citizens of the Commonwealth are encouraged to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting our liberties and furthering the education of our citizens, and especially our young people, about the importance of our Constitution and the freedom it guarantees. Now therefore be it resolved that the Culpeper County Board of Supervisors do hereby recognize September 17th, 2025 as Constitution Day in the County of Culpeper, and call this observance to the attention of our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. McLaren. We have Kathy Garrett and Martha Minton here today to receive this proclamation. So which one of you should I present this to? Here we are.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you for what you do to bring this to our attention. It's a very important document.
We agree. We agree. Thank you so much.
Okay, next on our agenda, item 3.04. The board will consider a proclamation recognition in commendation for the exemplary service during the June 5th, 2025 technology infrastructure incident. So I would just like to go on record here and talk a little bit about what happened on June 5th. June 5th this year, we lost our IT structure. It kind of caved in. And it pointed out a couple of things. One, that technology is a great thing until it's not. And then, probably the most important thing of this is that people are the really important things in this world. And we are blessed with a great team who came together and sort of brought resources from across the county, across the state, across the country to help rebuild our infrastructure. And you have to go back and also realize this IT failure caused our 911 service, our police and fire dispatch, all to go down. Because of prior planning, those issues rolled over to other places where the services could be provided without interruption. It was a disaster that was handled very, very well. And on behalf of the board, I want to say thank you to everyone that's here today. We're going to have lunch later on today to recognize everyone. And I am going to spare you the reading of a 4-page proclamation. And just say thank you on behalf of the board and the citizens of Culpeper County. You folks did a wonderful job. Thank you very much. Is there a...
Chairman, if I could, while they're here,
I didn't have my mic on.
I think they should stand and be recognized. Captain Deal has a group here. Director Uten has a couple here. I know I see an ITDRC person here. I see Mr. Martin here. I see some technology director and people here. They know who they are because they were around working a little differently around June 5th and the days thereafter. I'd like, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, for them to be standing and be recognized.
Absolutely. Please do that. And there is a much larger support group that was not able to be at this meeting today. We appreciate everyone that helped us through this response. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The proclamation is approved. We are now going to move on to old business. The board will consider adopting a resolution of support for the submission of VDOT revenue sharing applications for additional funds for the improvements scheduled for Riva Road, White Shop Road, and Stevensburg Road. And I'd like to ask Mr. McLaren to please lead this discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attached is a resolution for the board's consideration. This is a resolution of support to authorize staff to apply for revenue sharing applications this year. Coming up, actually, we need to hit the submit button on September 15th or by September 15th. It's in an effort to acquire additional state funds to hopefully work on 3 important secondary road projects that the board has started several years ago already. And that would be widening and shoulder improvements, safety improvements really, to Riva Road, White Shop Road, and Stevensburg Road. It'd be the first year for application for Stevensburg Road. Mr. Chairman, just as a way of reminder, the board did receive funds previous round 2 years ago, but we did not get our full allocation or full ask. So we're hoping to supplement those funds with additional applications, and hopefully we'll know more in January once this application is reviewed and approved, hopefully by VDOT. I'm happy to go into details, but attached, there's the older resolution, the previous resolution done 2 years ago, and then an ask for support of a new resolution for this year's applications.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. McLaren? Is there a motion to approve the submission?
I move to support the resolution for the revenue sharing for FY 29-30.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. We have no new business, so we are going to move on to committee reports. First item, Public Works Committee, Mr. Underwood.
We did not meet, sir, but we're meeting in September.
Thank you very much. Building and Grounds Committee, Supervisor Lee.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The committee brings forward, without a recommendation, the potential for pickleball courts at Spillman Park.
I'm all for it, but I want to hear from Supervisor Rosenberg.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hardy is here.
Mr. Hardy, would
Hardy.
you like to come forward and talk to us about some pickleball courts?
I've been told I got 5 minutes, and I'm going to keep to 5 minutes, if not less. So I think somebody's back there timing me on that. If you want to, we can swing to the PowerPoint real quick, and I'll zip through that. So just some backstory on this particular project. It came before Parks and Recreation as a recommendation to explore the construction of pickleball courts at Spillman Park roughly about 2 months ago. So being that the department built similar courts at Mountain Run Lake Park some years back, we had the contacts to pull all of the information together. So again, the project summary is again the construction of pickleball courts at Spillman Park, as well as the additional paved parking lot to improve the infrastructure for that particular site. The location that we have targeted is the multi-use field adjacent to Colvin Road, where the star is located on this map. It's just south of the pavilion, and what's not listed on this map is the newly installed playground that was put up probably about 2-3 years ago through the Kaboom grant. The specs, we had them done through Marvin Hinchy, and as you see, the court is identical, or courts are identical to the ones that are currently at Mountain Run Lake Park. It is 4 total courts with a perimeter fence, and then dividing fencing between the 4 courts that roughly is 4 foot high on the dividing court fencing, and on the back side varying heights of 6 to 8 foot on the rear. The location was picked primarily, one, it allowed the green space to remain on that multi-use field, as well as it was the furthest proximity from the adjacent houses right there at the entrance of South Wales. Finally, for other activities, we believe that users could partner with activities at the pavilion when they are using tournaments and other activities at that particular park. As far as the infrastructure goes, we do believe that it's critical to look at paving the existing parking lot that is there. The department, about 3.5 years ago, we expanded the parking lot and bumped it out because of all the disc golf activity and just general park use, and we think paving it will allow us to demarcate the space a lot better. As far as the construction cost, we have a quote sitting for $201,000 and some change from K&R. He was the contractor that did build the ones at Mountain Run Lake Park. And then we are looking at estimating $175,000 to pave the existing parking lot of 62 spaces, and that cost comes from the Lynn Park project that we just finished up, so that's relatively accurate as well. An additional consideration for this project is $75,000 because we could access water and power from the entrance at South Wales as well, because one of the long-term projects that we're looking at that property is getting water and power and a permanent restroom on that site. We do think with the usage, that would be an item to consider down the road. The preliminary estimate, you're looking at $376,900. and some change with a contingency of 10%, and that would be covered with third-party inspections, windscreens, and some plantings and so forth, which would roughly be $37,000. So as a total with the contingency, you're looking at $414 and some change. Now, with this construction estimate, we didn't talk about it in buildings and grounds. This isn't an all for one. This is just an exploratory amount provided to the board here today. Some options that you could consider is doing a phase 1, phase 2 rollout, where phase 1 would be the pickleball courts, and then we can work to the CIP for phase 2 to cover the parking lot. It could be a scenario that we continue with Marvin Hinchy to do construction documents, put it out to bid, and then present in the CIP for November, this project for FY27, that there's a variety of things the board could recommend the department proceed with. But this is, again, a pretty accurate cost in what we feel the project would cover. So, questions and comments?
Questions for Mr. Hardy?
I have a question. So what you're saying is that the pickleball court complex would be in FY26, and then the paving would be 27?
So currently, there aren't funds for this project allocated. So whether it's the independent pickleball project or the project and the parking lot, the board would have to locate the funds. If it's something with the number of projects that the board has going on with the pool, the restroom build at Mountain Run Lake Park that's going to be commencing, and then the parking lot at the sports complex, we believe that we can break the project up and still accomplish, an outstanding end result. We just would definitely want to look at the parking lot in FY27 if it's not an option in 26.
Okay, but that would be your recommendation, though, is to put those courts in the FY26 and try to find allocated funding for the next fiscal year?
Yes, ma'am. If that is something that the board desires, we could explore that, yes.
Okay, because we had a very tight FY26 budget, and a lot of the other things, everything that comes up is technology money, to the fact that when we finally do see technology money, that's when we can start doing the nice-to-haves instead of the need-to-haves. So
Yes, ma'am.
I would support this if it was a few more years out.
Supervisor Rosenberger?
Yes, sir, thank you. Thank you for all the work you've done on this.
Yes, sir.
But as I look at the star on this map, you're solving one problem and creating another.
Yes, sir.
Because you losing your multipurpose field, which is used all the time. They fill it up playing soccer. So you're gonna move from one thing to another. I think that if we're gonna do this, and I've had requests to look at this, and I appreciate y'all doing that, I think we need to move around on the site, because if we're gonna take a soccer field and lose that to put in pickleball courts,
Yes, sir.
we've created another problem. And
Yes, sir.
I think that, I agree with Stephen Berg supervisor's comments here. We are in a tight budget time, and I think that given the fact that we need to look a little more at this, that we need to look at trying to budget this in the upcoming budget. And
Yes, sir.
I think that would be a fiscal responsible thing to do.
Yes, sir. And the department did look an alternative location, which was directly here beside the playground, beside the parking lot. The thing is, the topography requires a little bit more of some retaining wall and stabilization of the surface. So we can go back to the drawing board, present buildings and grounds multiple options with multiple price points, and then work that to the CIP and just show that your community members that we're working on adding the amenity down the road.
Right. That would be ideal. To look at some alternative rather than lose the field they use all the time now.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions? Is there any action requested by the board? Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Appreciate it, guys.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be heading out and see you in about an hour.
Thank you, Supervisor Underwood. We'll see you shortly. Supervisor Lee, do you have some more?
Yes, sir. Item B, the committee brings forward a motion allowing the airport to receive the upgraded three-phase power from Dominion Energy contingent upon financing for the county's share of the upgrade.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Mr. McLaren, would you lead this discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if you want to be led a discussion, Director Woodward is not with us this morning, but we do have Mr. Goddard from the airport who can answer questions. There was a PowerPoint presentation that was posted for discussion that was part of the Buildings and Grounds Committee work. I don't know that we need to necessarily pull that up. We can if there's questions. However, staff does support the committee's recommendation. We're looking at a county share potentially of a max end of $20,000. The project cost in total is about $220,000, an estimate for the three-phase power to be brought to the airport. This is a project that's supported fully by the airport committee, and now the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and staff would like full support from the board to move forward with this project.
Thank you. Any further questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Before we move on to the Rules Committee, I have to back up and correct an omission. For our Constitution proclamation, I failed to get a vote on that. Do we have a motion to approve that proclamation?
So moved. Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we're going to move on to the Rules Committee. Ms. Gugino.
A, the committee brings forward a motion to recommend a public hearing on the application for tax exemption from real property, personal property taxes by designation for Playdate Inc.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried.
B, the committee brings forward a motion recommending the board approve the voluntary contribution program letter and contribution request categories for the calendar year 2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is Missy White here today? Okay. Is there further discussion on this? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Bates.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The committee brings forward a motion recommending the board formally discontinue negotiations regarding the Coffeewood Correctional Facility and reallocate approximately $5 million that was set aside for the Coffeewood facility for the renovation and/or construction of a new jail or regional jail project.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. Bates.
Mr. Chairman, the committee brings forward a motion that recommends the board engage in the process of developing a community-based corrections plan.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask, what do we have in mind when we say that we will engage in the process? Are we going to bring Mr. Hackworth back before the board to do his presentation before the full board, or what do we have in mind for that?
Mr. Bates?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I've expressed concerns. I think that we do need to move forward with this community-based plan, but in the previous presentation that Mr. Hackworth and Mosley presented, I was under the impression that there was a shelf life attached to this, this study, meaning it's good for a year. And this is a relatively expensive study, but I think it's going to be money well spent in it opening up the ability to have additional funding by the state to help us with some of these projects. So I don't know if that's something that we want to have Mosley come back to clarify that. But again, I don't know that we want to, you know, we want to start the process, but I just don't want to see us get something and then we're not in a position that we have the funds to proceed forward within 12 months on starting these projects.
It would seem to me the community-based corrections plan, first of all, it has a 5-year life. And that 5-year period will be a period where we can continue to develop plans on what our jail will look like, what our courthouse will look like. And that plan will be a huge asset, one, in developing how these things unfold, and number two, that plan makes us eligible for a 25% matching funds from the Commonwealth. So it would seem to me that we should move forward engaging someone, and this recommendation is to engage a firm to develop this plan. Does that answer
Totally
your
in
question?
support. I think the last time when we had that presentation, I believe it was very informative, although I think there was some confusion with regards to kind of the timing of it and the timing relative to when we could possibly gain reimbursement. So I do think that we need clarification with regards to how, if we do decide to have the plan implemented, what the timing would be, and there were various details, I think, that caused confusion. So, but I'm very supportive of moving forward with the community-based corrections plan. Yes, sir.
Further discussion? So we have a motion that says we will begin the process of developing a community-based plan. My understanding of that would be we will engage a firm to develop that plan. Is that correct? Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Supervisor Bates.
Mr. Chairman, the committee brings forward a motion that recommends the Sheriff's Office seek grant funding for a 25% reimbursement for repairs at the existing county jail.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. We are moving right along here. Item number 7, Economic Developers Report. Mr. Rothamel.
I'll try to keep us moving, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, good morning. Just wanted to do a few quick updates for you from the Economic Development Department. We're going to talk about 2.1 and 3.2, strengthening B.O. Culpeper Local's reach, as well as maintaining Culpeper Harvest Days Farm Tour. Recap that happened in August, a month ago. We had the 4th annual B.O. Culpeper Local Week. 71 businesses participated, of which 50 provided promotions. Each business received a social media promotion post that we put out on our social media. The economic impact, we tracked over 6,100 transactions with an impact of over $340,000. Shoppers earned canvas bags with each retail purchase, and also an event sticker. And then if you utilize 5 businesses, you got a t-shirt. 284 shirts earned, 137% increase over the last year. The increase in sales, not just foot traffic, was incredible, said a business owner. It's clear this event had the business in mind, and we appreciate that so much. The swag and competitiveness of collecting the gold stars was my favorite part of the event. Even adults love the stickers. And then we discovered some shops new to us, especially Bear and Blade, who do knife sharpening. And I like this resident quote because the idea is that you went to one business and then you discovered other businesses throughout the week. For the Harvest Days Farm Tour, September 20th to the 21st, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The postcard says it all there. One thing I want to point out is that the Welcome Center will have several events going on, as well as the Culpeper Farm Corner, which will be returning, I believe this time for the third year in a row. We'll have the Piedmont Railroaders, as well as the Farm Bureau, and then FFA from all of the schools that participate with FFA will have events going on. So make sure you check out the Welcome Center and plan some extra time there, more than previous years. Finally, moving on to the International Economic Development Council Awards. This is Excellence in Economic Development Awards. There's 26 categories off of 4 population sections for each category. There's 191 total awards given. 272 submissions did not receive an award. So you're looking at somewhere about 400 submissions total, and there was 125 unique organizations were honored. Last year, we won a gold and a bronze, as well as being nominated for Best in Show, the top annual economic development award in the world. This year, we did pretty well. We got 6 awards. We actually led the world in awards, so we tied with the state of Michigan for most awards to any one organization. I won a gold for Sips of Culpeper, and then you see the silvers for Be a Culpeper Local Week, Choose Culpeper Farms, and the Farm Tour brochure, as well as Be a Culpeper Local Spotlight and Be a Culpeper Newsletter winning bronze. So we'll be going to Detroit to collect all of our hardware. The one thing that I just want to point out about this is, what we do is economic development is not unique to any community across America. And international economic development includes there's awards from Brazil and Chile and Australia, I believe, in Canada. But what's unique is how we do it here in Culpeper, and we're seeing the recognition for that. Sips of Culpeper is a program that encourages people to utilize local beverage manufacturers, but the way we do it is just different, and that's the thing that we're getting recognition for. It's not that we're doing these things. There's a lot of places that do very similar, but we're getting recognition for how we're making that unique to Culpeper, we're making that unique to our community, and we're doing it with a team of 2. So just wanted to make sure to call that out, and we're very proud, and I'm very proud. Today is my 4th year in 1 day on the job here in Culpeper, and I'm always thankful, very thankful to be here in Culpeper County.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. First of all, congratulations, Brian, on the awards. That terrific work. Keep it up. Just with the farm tour, I was just kind of curious. So the number of farms on that tour, do we try to increase that annually, or is it kind of a set number and we just kind of rotate through different farms?
That's not a set number, but I will say that there's like kind of a sweet spot of how many will work. I think when I first started here, we had a little bit more. The big thing about Farm Tour, though, is we're trying to bring it to its original roots, which was to get residents excited about agriculture in the community and teach them about agriculture in the community. So these farms are able to utilize and show why ag's important to Culpeper County, why ag's important to the world in general. But no, we have open submissions early in the year. I believe that happens about February. Yeah, about February we have submissions. So these are the ones that have submitted. And we talk with other farms if they want to join.
Right.
Sometimes the farms might not be able to host people on site just because of their operations. So that's where Mrs. Pritz, our business development manager, able to have the Culpeper Farm Corner so that those farms can still participate, could still do displays and things of that nature at the Welcome Center.
Okay. And so people can get their tickets at the Welcome Center? Or there are no tickets?
No tickets.
Okay.
You can start any location you want. So you can start
Information's at the Welcome Center.
But information's at the Welcome. There's also information on each farm too that you can pick up.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Any other questions? Brian, I would just like to, congratulate you on the 6 awards and say thank you to you and Winona. Brian and Winona Pritz, 2 people make up our economic development department, and I think 6 international awards is pretty special there.
Yeah,
and
we'll
thank
take
you very much to both of you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Our next item on the agenda is County Administrator's Report, and we do not have one this month. Is there a motion for closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I move we enter into a closed session as permitted under VA Code Section 2.2-3711A 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 29. 1, to consult with legal counsel regarding pending litigation, i.e. Tillman Infrastructure versus Board of Supervisors of Culpeper County, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the board county. 2, to consult with legal counsel regarding a specific legal matter pertaining to probable litigation regarding a contractual dispute where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the board county, and requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel where, if made public initially, the legal position of the board county would be adversely affected. 3, to discuss and consider the award of a public contract for internet services involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and the discussion of terms or scope of such contract, where discussion in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the board county. 4, to discuss and consider the potential purchase of .5911 acres more or less running through the Friendship Heights property for the construction of a public roadway, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position, negotiating strategy, and financial interest of the board county. 5, to consult with legal counsel concerning specific legal matters, i.e. zoning ordinances related to unrelated parties and the number thereof occupying a single residential dwelling where, if made public initially, the legal position of the board county would be adversely affected. And 6, to discuss and consider the performance and salary of a named county employee.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? We are in closed session.